Hola, hello, and welcome to another episode of our travel blog to Mexico. Today we will go to Yucatan, to the Yucatan Peninsula. The first stop in our today's video is Mérida, the former capital of the entire region and colonial city rich in history, rich in foods, with friendly people and hot, humid weather, a scorching sun actually, some amazing travel spots close by like Cenotes or the beach or even ancient Mayan ruins. So let's dive into it and see what to explore in Mérida. Always a great starting spot to explore a city is a free walking tour. We took one and got a great introduction to the city, both in history and in culture. So Mérida is a place that used to be a Mayan city actually. There used to be a Mayan city where today it is mainly colonial buildings or more modern buildings. And when the conquistadores came, they demolished the entire city and made it their own. So, unfortunately, as it was very custom in that time and very custom by the Spanish conquistadores, the Mayan population was discriminated against and was used as work slaves. One of those very unpopular conquistadores who tried to found Mérida as a new Spanish city was Francisco de Montejo. One of the first buildings the Spanish built in Mérida was the Casa de Montejo, which is now a little museum displaying a traditional colonial style house with furniture, with the style, with the tapestries and the floors and everything. So today it's a museum. Mérida has a number of very typical colonial features, like the Grand Plaza and a cathedral right next to it. Like many churches, you can find some features or some patterns of the Mayan temples that were demolished to build these churches. There is a beautiful neighborhood of Santa Lucia, which also has a nice little plaza with live concerts regularly. It is surrounded by a number of beautiful restaurants. And finally there is the Avenue de Montejo, which contains a lot of luxury restaurants, luxury hotels. It is a high society part of town of Mérida, I would say. Located close to the city center, there is the Parque La Plancha. La Plancha is a great modern park. It's not too green, but it is a little retreat for sure. There's a lot of very modern playgrounds. There are some train wagons, old train wagons that are used now as cafes or as little shops for gifts and stuff. There is a running track. You can go cycling in the park. It is a great little retreat from the city. Another thing inside of La Plancha is a very modern little museum about trains and about the significance of trains in the Yucatan Peninsula. So it was very interesting to learn about what train had to offer economically, socially, culturally to the Yucatan Peninsula and to the people that lived here. There is no way of going to Yucatan and not trying the local foods. And as I'm a great enthusiast for good food and always on the lookout to try new and interesting dishes, Yucatan is a great place. There is, for example, the Cochinita Pibil, my personal favorite. It is pork meat that is marinated and then slowly cooked underground with like hot stones in traditional Mayan fashion. Then there is a Relleno Negro. It is turkey, pulled turkey in a charred chile sauce, so it's a very black sauce. Third, there are the Marquesitas, a very typical dish that you can find everywhere on the streets. The vendors often offer it with Nutella, with cheese, with strawberries, and one very typical plant from the Yucatán Peninsula that was used in Mayan times but is still used in a lot of dishes is the chaya. It is a kind of leaf that is used in many dishes, or for example in great fruit waters. One of my absolute highlights from our trip to Mérida was an excursion to the Cenotes. To the Cenotes in the close proximity of a city called Homún. Homún, there's nothing special in Homún. We took a colectivo that departed somewhere in the city. It was we had to ask around a little bit to find the right spot where to leave. But the cenotes are incredible. So there are hundreds of cenotes in the nearby proximity. We got a motor taxi for 250 pesos to chauffeur us around all day. There was no time limitation. There was no limitation to the amounts of cenotes to visit. You just have to rent a life vest, and you have an entrance fee at every cenote of 70 pesos. So of course it adds up a little bit, but it is absolutely worth it. Like the cenotes are underground holes. Inside of these caves you have a water reservoir. And this water is usually crystal clear because it doesn't get fogged up by a riverbed or something that flows into it. In the cenotes also you usually have a tree growing that grows out of the cenote, out of the hole where the cenote comes to the surface basically. And this tree is nurtured by the water inside of the cenote. So it is an incredible experience. We visited 4 different cenotes. They ranged from very big to really small, where you almost felt a bit claustrophobic, but swimming right through a little opening to discover a little cave. The cenotes came to be because the Yucatán Peninsula is mainly made out of porous limestone, a rock that easily dissolves in water. And over the millions of years, rainwater just seeped through the surface and eroded the limestone, which created this network of underground caves and tunnels. As the erosion continued, some of the caves reached the water table and filled with groundwater. So this is how the network of underground tunnels became a network of underground rivers and pools. Sometimes then, because everything used to be underground, sometimes the erosion reached the surface level and the caves collapsed and revealed these water-filled caverns and the network of tunnels. So these openings is what we call the cenotes today. Great day trip we made was to the beach of Sisal. It is a beach close by, about roughly an hour. We traveled there also by colectivo, so it's a small bus. And the beach was pretty much empty, maybe because we went on a Monday. But we had all the space for ourselves. We could just lay in the sand in some shade because there are these huts that are free to use. And it was amazing. Also a very chill day. Great weather. We could see slowly the sun setting over the little town of Sisal. We ate some great seafood. Also, taking the public transport in Mexico is always an experience by itself already. So it is highly recommended you talk to locals and find out how to get from A to B with the local transport. Our final trip was to the ancient Mayan ruins of Uxmal. Uxmal is about 1 hour away from Mérida. One way to go to Uxmal is with the bus. It leaves at 9:30 in the morning from the ADO terminal. but you have to get the ticket there. You can't buy the ticket online, so you have to be there on time. We were not on time, so we missed the bus and ended up taking a private tour there. And it is a great city complex. So it is estimated that between 20 and 50,000 people used to live in and around Uxmal. They have different temples. In contrast to Chichen Itza, I would say Uxmal is a bit more wild. There are more trees on the archaeological site, and it feels a bit more natural to walk around and explore the ruins of Uxmal. But to be fair, both are super impressive and worth a visit. Only the price surprised us. For locals it was 100 pesos, but for foreigners coming from afar it was a full price of 550 pesos. So obviously, if you compare it to other museums abroad, it is not a high price. But in contrast to everything else here that costs, like maybe the entrance to a museum costs 120 pesos, then Uxmal is a little bit pricey, but still absolutely worth a visit. They have a lot of information in English. So thank you all for visiting here and enjoying our trip to Mérida. We were accompanied by a good friend of mine, Phillip, who also joined. And next up we will travel to Campeche. Actually, I am already in Campeche, but the next video will be about Campeche. And you can look forward to it because it is a small but beautiful town. And it has a lot of culture, history and more food to offer. So looking forward to seeing you again. And adios. Hasta luego.